Looks like today we have. Sorry, still getting used to the new camera. Zoomy boy. Manual focus sucker. We're trying to get the hang of it still. Oop. Perfect. Yep. Okay. So what do we got today? Well, we have an adorable little platypus. He's some kind of like water mage, it looks like, which is pretty cool. I 3D printed this sucker. He's from, I want to say Wild Mesh, but I can't tell you 100% that that's true. But that's what I want to say. So, um, he is from them, and yeah, I thought he would make a really awesome mage for frostgrave, and a nice little kind of like quick project, right? He's got a whole bunch of really nice detail, but like nothing crazy like over the top, so I thought he would be a really fun little project. So with that, we can start knocking him out. So while I'm tempted to paint him teal and give him a little hat, we're actually going to do him in actual platypus colors. So first up, we got Fur Brown. Oh wait, no, this is Tree Agent. First up, we got Tree Agent. This is the one I want to use. Nice, kind of rich brown. We're going to do this for all his kind of fur. Yeah, she doesn't have a whole lot of fur showing. Because he's kind of got like this robe and stuff, so it's not going to be a ton of this, but we still want to hit it. Oop. So they platypuses have they have like kind of like different styled hands and feet. So their hands and feet are kind of like a set different color, sort of like their bills. So I think I might actually try to duplicate that on this guy. Before I do that though, we'll look at some pictures of it. But for right now, just to get our base coat down, we're just going to paint them brown. And then we will probably come back and hit them with like a darker color. Maybe like a darker brown or something. To try to like call them out. And the bill's going to definitely be black, so yeah. Same thing with his little tail there. Which for right now, again, we'll also just hit that with brown. I might put a speed paint over that, or I might just do it in a different brown. We'll see. We'll see. Or like a super dark brown, maybe. The last thing I'm going to paint is going to be the blue for the water, because I'm going to also do the whole base in that color. And if some of the blue spills over onto the model, that's perfectly fine, right? He's swirling water all around himself. He's going to probably get some on him. Whereas I don't want any of the other colors to get onto him. So now looking at the design, he's got like a robe, which seems to have two layers to it, an internal and an external layer. And then he has a shawl and like this big sash. So you could actually split the robe color into like two separate colors if you wanted to do like the internal part of the robe as a different color. And it would probably look pretty good, but I'm going to be super honest. I'm just going to paint the robe all one color. Because I think if I paint the sub robe a separate color, like here, I think if I paint that a separate color, it's only going to show up down here and nowhere else. So I think it's going to end up looking like he's some kind of like Victorian lady. And that's definitely not the look I want for my cool my cool water mage. All right. It's gonna look like one of the Victorian dresses. I think they call it like a bustle or something like that, where it's like the dress underneath the dress, so you can dress while you dress. All right. So if we do that as a different color, I think that's what this will end up looking like, and that is not the look I want. So just making sure I get up under there, get all around. All right. This is a color from Vallejo. This is their khaki color. This is probably my favorite khaki color, because I feel like it has less green in it than the other khaki colors. So, I don't know. I like that. I think it looks cool. So I'm going to use this for the basic clothes, like the robe underneath, essentially. Um, could do a whole bunch of other colors. I could do a kind of like a cool gray would probably look pretty good. Um, or like kind of dark blue would probably also be pretty good. And my doggo is needing help. So I have to go check him really quick, and I will be back in a minute. And I'll be right back. Oh. What's up, buddy? I don't know what he wanted. He doesn't want to get up, and he doesn't order. The joys of having disabled doggo. But yeah, so we're getting our tan in kind of everywhere. Since he had to dry for a minute while I had to get up and check Puppo, I figured I might as well just hit the second coat with this to make sure we've got good coverage of it. Seems like a good time to do that, you know? The way the water swirls around him, there's definitely some blind spots in the design, but nothing terrible. Okay. Now his shawl, I really kind of wanted to do. I was thinking about doing these in kind of a green and really having the water just sort of be the blue, or to do these in kind of like a rich brick red. But I think I'm gonna try it out as a really dark turquoise first. So this is abyssal turquoise. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the water in like a crazy blue and then hit it with like fluorescent on top of it. So it's like crazy fluorescent, like just like kind of like glowing blue water, I think is what I'm going to try to do. Um, So I think we'll try doing his shawl in kind of like a dark blue. It's not gonna like really get us like that crazy contrast, but I think it'll sell him being a water mage a little bit better than if we did a different color. And then we can also make his belt, his big sash, the same color, and that'll give us a way to carry this color into the model somewhere else, which is what we want. So yes, this pack of minis, like I said, I think they're from Wild Mesh. It was a whole bunch of different like animals. There was like polar bears, and I think what are those things called? Why am I blanking on this? No, not seals, but like the Tuskar things. Why am I blanking on this word? Sea lions, sea lions. Uh, might have been like a lynx. It's a good pack. And the cool thing is you don't just get one pose, you get like 2 or 3 poses per like creature slash per character. So that's pretty darn cool. Especially if you want to use them for like a D&D game, like you could use like one pose now and then one pose later, like when your character like gets more powers or whatever. You know what I mean? And it would allow you to have progression in like what is a otherwise like pretty just like monopose character mini. You know what I mean? And that would be pretty dope. All right. Okay. We got our blue started, and then we'll go pick off the blue sash too. Well, we are at it. He does have this like necklace which has what appears to be a bunch of like charms and trinkets and stuff on it, so figure out how we want to do that too. I'm thinking that necklace is actually going to be a good way for us to get a bunch of little colors into this that are not one of like the standard big colors. So just a bunch of like nice little additional kind of highlight things. I think it's going to let us do really well. Oh man, I did not realize my eyes are not focusing amazingly well today. That's going to make this hard. It's going to make this really, really hard. But it's fine. We got it. The side effect of having having a very anxious week where kind of all your muscles get really, really tight and then really, really loose. Um, because your eyes are muscles. The muscles in your eyes kind of like squeeze your eyeball, and that's what lets you focus. So, okay. All right. Well, there's our blue. Got a little touch up because I screwed up in some areas, but not a ton to touch up. Just a little bit. For our guy there. Hello! And we can break out kind of that darker brown I mentioned. This is Brigadine Brown from Army Painter. This is a really nice kind of like cool, darker like sort of desaturated-y kind of brown. So I'm going to use this for the ropes for the necklace. And then we're also going to use it for things like his hands and feet. And I don't know if this has wrapping on it. Does the staff have wrapping on it? It's really hard to see. Don't think it does. So we'll just treat that like it's wood. And we'll just paint that a wood color in a minute. I guess because I did some GW minis the other day and they love putting wrappings around staves. Oh my god, every staff always has a shit ton of wrapping on it. Alright, so then we're just going to call it the hands and feet, insert this darker brown, because that's how platypuses be, platypi be. And then we'll have kind of a nice bit of color from the hands to the neck to the feet, right? This sort of matching color here as well, which is nice. So as you start getting kind of more little colors like this, your models always look nicer. And then we'll also do his tail in this same color too. His like cool floppy beaver tail. So fun facts about platypuses. Did you know that the female platypuses sweat milk, but males do not? Also, they have bioluminescent patterns that we can actually see. Because most things actually have some variance of bioluminescence, like even we do. But it's in spectrums and stuff that basically nothing can really see. However, these guys, you actually can see it if you hit them with light, which is cool. They're also the only poisonous mammal. Let me rephrase that. The only venomous mammal. Poisonous would be if you bit them. But venomous is them hitting you with their spurs. So yeah, they're cool creatures. Very, very cool creatures. I painted today one barbarian from Frostgrave. It looked really terrible, but I don't care. I like to put paint on minis. Don't care if they like it or not. LOL. I like your painting here. Thank you. First off, thank you. Second off, yeah, I mean, it's very easy to forget that this is a hobby time, right? With all like the super fancy people and their like, super fancy techniques and all of this like production budget and edited photos for Instagram and Golden Demon and like all that stuff, right? It's very easy to forget that this is a hobby, right? But this is your time. This is you enjoying and having fun, right? And if you want to paint barbarians and you want to paint them amazingly well, or you want to paint them poorly, or you want to paint them to the absolute best of your ability, like, or like you just want to be like, oh, this barbarian's fucking red. This is the red barbarian. He's red now. If that's like all you want to do, dude, then fucking do it, right? Like this is your hobby and your time. Far too often do we get roped into the idea that we need to be doing our hobby correctly, right? Like, or like in some specific way that is the right way, right? But um, unlike many things in life, doing a hobby has intrinsic value, and that just doing it itself is the reward, right? It doesn't matter if you put paint on them terribly, as long as you're having fun doing it or you're happy with the end result, then fuck it. That's what you're supposed to do. Life is far too short to be dictated by everybody telling you how to enjoy things, right? And it's sort of like one of the pitfalls of being an adult is so much of our life is spent, right, like trying to do things the right way. Um, that sometimes just doing them is the right way. And that is very easy to forget. But your comment raises a really interesting point. You said whether they like it or not. And I think that's an interesting idea. Because there are these like Japanese demons called yokai. They're not really demons, but demon-esque. And a lot of them actually come from mistreated things, like uh, like a mistreated umbrella or whatever. Right? Like a lot of them come from this, and I think that's kind of fascinating because sometimes just using the item, even if we're not using it like we're some amazing sports player or whatever, right? Just throwing a football gives it that validation of existence, right? It gives it that purpose. Now here I am talking about the validating inanimate objects, but it's true, right? Like if you're not going to throw the football, the football never gets to be a football. It's a paperweight. I say all of this like I actually like sports. I hate sports. I'm not a big sports guy, but it's a good example. All right, what am I doing here? I'm very messily painting in these ropes that I realized were coming off of his sash. And I'm doing them in the same color that we did the ropes from the necklace in. Um, there we go. All right, and the colors I used on the necklace, that is true copper, which is another army painter color. He's got like little like gems on his necklace here, so I just want to get those in as a separate kind of color. Um, because I think it'll be interesting. And just add a little bit of variation. Yeah. But man, the multi-part plastic frostgrave kits rule, dude. They rule so much. And they're actually coming out with a set of new cultists. So there's a new like cultist knights set that's just coming out right now. Um, yeah, I there's like a pre-order pack where you get cultists 2, cultists 3, and then a set of the cultists. I picked that up. It'll probably take a month or two to get here, but um, yeah, I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. The Frostgrave Cultist models are phenomenal. Even Cultist 1, which is just an older kit now, is still a fantastic kit. You take that, you take some of the gnolls, and you are in for a good time of kit bashing, cool, fun times. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to get some of the some of the blue in here because I know I'm going to touch stuff I don't want to be blue. So before I go back and do highlights and stuff, I want to get some of this blue in, especially things like around the arm and around the back, where the blue is gonna, I think, bump into stuff. And while I don't mind if some of the blue gets on the model, I also don't want like a ton of it, right? Like, so we're gonna hit it before we do the touch-ups. Because yeah, I think we're just gonna have to go around and kind of do one kind of quick round for every one of the colors that we use as touch-ups. Um, and he's probably gonna have to sit a little bit before we can do washes on his body, just because he needs to dry a little. Still a little overcast and cold here in Hawaii today. And by that, I mean it's like 65, 68, something like that. So not cold in like mainland standards, but cold for Hawaii. That does mean the paint dries a little bit slower. So yeah, so we're just going to go around and kind of get the base of the water on, and then we will, I guess, probably paint his staff. I have to do that still. What color do we want this to be? Let's do that in a metal, actually. Yeah, so we gotta do the base of the staff, and then, or the staff, and then we'll do all the touch up, and then we'll just let them sit for a little bit, and then we'll do washes. Frostgrave minis have that vibe that I felt when I get started mini hobby. Yeah, they really do. I think it's the nature of the fact that like you have to like pose them and you kind of have to pick the pieces and stuff, right? Like they're really not telling you how to enjoy the mini. Um, so when you make a really cool pose, you're like, wow, man, that's awesome. I did that, right? Um, and that's kind of fun and enjoyable. There's something kind of, I think, just innately really, really fun about that, right? Or because so many of the pieces, so many of the kits can combine with each other really easily. There's also, I think, a lot of like innate fun of kit bashing them together, right? And I don't know. I feel like there's multi-part plastic kits just inherently have some kind of like, I don't know, like imagination to them. Like I'm using a bunch of them to build like a Diablo style hell army with like imps and demons and stuff, right? And like that's clearly not what any of them are made for, but they are really fun, and I think it's a really fun project. I'm just adding to it here and there, and whenever I get the urge to make a kit bash, right? I'm like, here we go, it's kit bash time. So like I got a box of like wolf riders, and I was like, oh, that's really cool for the hell guys, so they can have like hellhounds. And then I was like, you know what? I have a box of werewolves too. It would be really cool if the werewolves matched the way the other hellhounds looked, and then I had like anthro hellhounds. Um, so I did that, and it's really cool. And it is a very fun, kind of characterful project. An army, well, not army, force, I guess. I've used them in Frostgrave before, but and StarQuest, not StarQuest, Fantasy Quest. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Now that the base of our water is done, we can do that staff now, and then we can do touch-ups. Let's see, where's the copper? Yes, that's the great part. In my part of the world is almost like spring. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely that's some ways. I grew up in a place that had like actually had a fall. It just wasn't very long. Same thing with spring. Um, but like we had like a hellishly long summer every year. Part of the hobby after painting. Frostgrave makes nice miniatures with Oathmark. Yeah, they make very fun with combination with Oathmark. Pretty much all the War Games Atlantic stuff. One of my favorite kits these days, really, to kit bash with basically anything, including like historical stuff or anything, is the what are they called? The zombies from War Games Atlantic. They kit bash so well with every single thing. Alright. I'm gonna break out leather brown for the wood for the staff. I don't really like using an orphaned color like this, which is to mean that there's a color, one color in one spot, but I don't really have another place to use it, because I made the mistake of using having the rope color be the same color as the hands. So, and I don't really want another one that is the same color as the fur. Because I could do this in fur color too, and it would solve the problem in orphan colors. But I really don't want the fur to be duplicated anywhere. But yeah, funny thing is with our hobbies, with lots of things, we always kind of feel like we need to like be constantly on this treadmill of improvement. But I think while it's important to try to push yourself sometimes, yeah, it's still important to like enjoy where you are, right? Because if you're always going after a goal, you never enjoy the moment at where you are now. Like this is gonna sound really dumb, but I recently lost like 60 pounds, or damn near 60 pounds, which is probably actually puts me at the lightest I've been in, God, since I was in college. Right, I'm probably just slightly over the weight I am when I was in college, um, which is crazy. But like, it is very easy to be okay. Well, what's next, right? What do we do next, right? But sometimes it's important to kind of focus on where you are at the moment too, and enjoy that, right? Be like, hell yeah, I lost this. That's dope, you know. I can keep going, but that doesn't. It's not gonna stop me from enjoying where I am at the moment too. So with that staff all with its base colors, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some touch-ups on our dude. We're going to do some touch-ups. So yeah, so just kind of going around and hitting the spots that I know I booped while I was doing other stuff. Things like the spot there on the chest, a little bit extra in there. Just kind of walking around. One of the best ways to kind of like, at least in my opinion, to get your models feeling really good is to have some clean lines between different sections. So even if there is some spillover, if the line is clean and not kind of jaggy, um, I swear your brain like kind of skips over it a little bit, and it looks a lot nicer than like the jaggy line. Right? So like there in the back of the belt. It's a good example. Here at the bottom of the belt, see there's a little bit of like spill over there. I'm just going to hit it with the brown or with the tan to where you can't see the spillover anymore. There we go. And that looks nice. So yeah. Yep. You gotta move forward. That's true. Best part of the hobby after painting. Oh, the building, yeah. I will also say the War Games Atlantic STL thing, dude. Every month they put out just a phenomenal amount of really nice STLs that work with all their models. So, for example, there's a Lizard Man box that they did for Frostgrave, or somebody did for Frostgrave. I don't remember who, but the box that goes with it, or the line that goes with it. You can get like Napoleonic Lizard Man and all this kind of crazy stuff if you go and print the STLs out for it. They're really, really cool. Okay, our little buddy is coming along. Nice. Well, I think that's all of our touch up. I think I have to start planning how I'm going to paint minis before I start. Lines are okay. I just have a tendency to draw models in shades, and after being lost in the lighting, I'm up again. Model you're painting looks good. Thank you. Um, so couple of points there. So for drowning things in shades, I love shades. This guy's gonna get completely buried in wash in a minute. But one of the tricks to wash is actually to thin them down. And that seems counterproductive because you think you would want wash to be really dark so it gets dark into the recesses, right? But um, what ends up happening is that when you just use it kind of like straight, it ends up tinting the paint more than getting in the recesses, right? So by thinning it, you kind of head off a lot of that like um, that kind of like shading or like kind of like filter application, which is really nice. So this guy's going to get covered in strong tone in a minute. Everything except for this light blue is going to get covered in strong tone, and but we're going to mix it 50-50, and that's going to mean that it just kind of just does the recesses and doesn't really dye the outside model too much. And then if I wanted to lighten him back up, I could actually just do an overall dry brush with tan, and it would kind of pick up every one of the edges a little bit and just kind of lift the colors up a little bit more. I don't always end up doing that because, like I said, with the watered down wash, it handles a lot of that kind of losing the color. Just trying to hit some of the blue. Make sure we've got good coverage. Because the blue is going to get a fluorescent wash, and then it's going to get actual like individual highlights and stuff like that. So okay. So he's got to wait and dry for a second. So while he does that, I'll grab these two. These are the two I painted last Sunday. What am I looking for? Oh, my wash medium. That's right, and my strong tone. Just somewhere. No, there it is. Okay. All right, so these are the two I painted last week on stream. Um, yeah, so these are the two I did last week. Come on, there, come on. So yeah, so some of the cow guys with sort of like nurgly growths and stuff. The pestigores. And they're very fun. I'm very happy with how they came out. Right, you can kind of see the washes sort of settled in on them, but it's not like completely darkened them down. It's because it was mixed down. So yeah, they're pretty fun. I gotta finish their bases, but I'm still painting the rest of them to be honest. And they're coming along pretty good. So here's one for example. So I'm working on this guy right now. So our little platypus boy's got to wait a minute. So we'll actually just keep going on him, I guess. While we wait. There we go. Back to this one. I do like this camera for painting because while it's not as zoomed in as the other one, the fact it has that fixed focus is nice. So the stuff's not constantly going in and out of focus. That's really nice. Yeah, big fan of that. I think it's very cool. All right, what color did I use for the belts for these guys? I don't remember. This guy's gonna get a leather brown belt. But yeah, I kind of wanted to stream today because I think I'm gonna try to play tomorrow. I think we're gonna play some more StarQuest. Um, His platypus boy here will not be ready tomorrow, unfortunately, because he's gonna need top coat, and then he's gonna need. Um, I like to do these guys with. I like to anytime I paint water, I like to hit it with gloss Mod Podge afterwards, so that it gets kind of like a clear kind of shininess to it. Big fan of that. So. So he'll get a couple around the gloss Mod Podge. So that'll be a couple of like the painting will take like 30 seconds, but then it'll take like an hour to dry. So yeah, so he'll get that next, which is pretty fun. All right, we'll do the Diabolic purple on this guy, and then we'll work on our water boy again. Yeah, this guy is gonna get some of the purple kind of growths like the other one's got. Actually, it's kind of like this overgrown, kind of like meat foot on this one foot here, which is really gross. Super duper gross. but that's what makes these models fun. Doesn't really have any growth on his face like the other ones do, though. So I guess he just in general won't get as many as the other ones. Alrighty. Well, our buddies had a little bit to dry. I would like that base to be fully dry first. So we're going to give that another minute then, what we're going to do, because I want that base to be fully dry. And we'll go and do the flesh color on our goat man. And just paint in all of his soft materials, like his junk and insides of his ears and some of the boils and stuff too. Because then what we'll do is we'll hit the soft areas, like in the boils and stuff. We'll hit those with a green, that like green tint like we used last time. And it makes just like nasty kind of greenness on the skin, which is pretty neat. Yeah, he definitely does not have as many growths as the other ones that we did, so gonna have to embellish a little bit here in some of these growths. Yeah. Alright. Now for our wash time. So we're gonna take strong tone. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 3 drops strong tone. 1, 2, 3. And I'm gonna mix that with 3 drops wash medium. I actually like the speed paint medium better, but I'm all out of it, so. And like a dummy, I forgot to get it last time. So the wash medium is actually kind of like thicker than the regular medium, than the speed paint medium. And I kind of like the thinner one, to be honest. The bottle was very backed up. Come on. 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right. And then just going to mix that together. And then we just slap that all over everything that's not bright blue. Right, and the trick to washes is always to make sure that you are applying enough of the wash for it to do wash stuff. Because if you apply it too lightly, it's not actually going to behave like a wash, and it's not going to do the stuff you want it to do. So you got to put a whole bunch of it on there. Which is fine, because the next step for this is going to be going back and picking that wash color off as well. So we're adding it to remove it. I'm going to get up to get down. All right. You can see with just the 3 drops, it's basically enough to cover the, like, just slather the entire model. So. Alright, so now we're going to let them sit for a second, and then we're going to go back in, and we're going to start picking off where there's too much wash. So you can see there's way too much here in the neck. So we're going to pick that off. And I'm doing this with just like a dry brush. Just kind of walking around and grabbing it. Way too much underneath the arm there. Just kind of dabbing it around, right? Anywhere it looks like it's pooling or doing what they call coffee staining, I just kind of touch it a little bit, or anywhere I feel like the shadow is too much, like underneath here in the skirt, that's too much. We're going to get rid of that too. Right. You can say it is going to make him glossy. Washes usually do that just because what the medium kind that they're mixed with, but that's why you always top coat your models. So this guy will be getting a top coat of matte. He'll be getting a matte top coat, and then the base and all the blue is going to get the gloss Mod Podge, so it will look more like water. Yeah. And there we go. All right. And now our little platypus boy is going to sit, and we're going to pick up some of the blue that I screwed up while I've been touching it and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to get that picked up now. The next step is blue washes. So coat 2 of the blue. And like our goat guys from last week, I'm not going to do any rust on this guy, because I mean, I imagine he takes care of his stuff. And he's not really wearing any armor, he doesn't really have like a sword or anything, right? So I imagine he takes pretty good care of his equipment. Given that the only real metal things he has are his necklace. All right. Okay, now we're going to let the blue sit for a minute. You know, a couple of steps with the blue. I'm not super mega sure what I want to do. What I think I'm going to do is I think we're going to spot highlight the blue and white, and then we're going to hit all the blue with this guy, which is plasma coil glow, which is sort of like a technical paint for dealing with that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we'll do. I think that's probably a good idea. So in the meantime, just working on another goat because we gotta wait for that blue to dry a little bit more. So just working on our goat again here. And because this goat doesn't have any armor, I want to get some of the like neon green color I use for the armor from all my Nurgle stuff onto him somehow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some of the bells be neon green instead. So he'll have copper and neon green bells. At least for these kind of like really big ones, right? These big bells. The little ones are going to keep in copper. Right, but like for example, like this one here, this guy's going to get turned into neon green. Just because I want to get a little bit of that neon green into the model somehow, and I think this is a pretty good way to do it. We did a similar thing on the one guy from last week, so, but I'm not going to do a ton of it. I just want a little bit, like one or two pieces, just to pick out. So he has that matching army color with him, which is pretty fun. And same thing for this guy. That blue is still going to take a minute to dry. Although I guess we could probably start picking out the washes on it, or the highlights on it in the white. So we could probably actually already start doing that. So I will do that here in a second. So the reason we want to do the highlights in bright white is because when the technical like glow paint goes over top of it, it's gonna like color everything down. But if it has a really bright, like insane highlight on it, it'll pick that up more than the others. So, all right. So this is Pro Acro Bold Titanium White. And what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna run it onto some of the edges and kind of like hit the edges of the water with it. All right. If you wanted to paint your water like it was frothy, you would kind of be doing a similar thing anyway. I more want it to be like toning my water, so I'm not going to do that as much. But if you wanted like head on your water, that's what you would do. You know, like froth kind of stuff. Splashy, your water's mixed with air kind of stuff. All right, so I'm just kind of going through, I'm just hitting every one of the points. Just hitting every one of the points with the white. Gonna be honest, I actually kind of like how just the white looks, but I think it'll look cooler once it has the glow paint on it. Wow, I am shaky today. Did not realize. I've been hurting super bad all week, well, since Wednesday. I actually started feeling pretty good last night, so did not expect to be shaking this much, to be honest, or have this much trouble focusing. But thus is life. We are all built different and have different things we need to deal with every day. Okay. Let's see. How's our water looking? We get all the splashies. A couple more little splashies we'll hit. There's one here. I'll hit this guy again. There's one like here we'll hit again. I'll hit the ones we hit just to make sure they have good coverage too. As I get way too much paint on your brush. Oh my god. So this is super bad for the brush, by the way. Anytime you get paint up near the ferrules of the brush, like the top of the brush where it connects to the metal, super bad for the brush. Okay, well, he is going to sit and chill for a minute. Because we definitely cannot do the blue paint while this stuff is wet. So he needs to sit and chill for a minute. While he's doing that, we'll break out some more of that. Or that true copper and get to work on our guys. So these goat guys that I started on the channel last week, they I decided I was going to do them all in like slightly different goat colors. So I've got some brown ones, I've got some like dark brown ones, stuff like that. And the main guy is actually like a two-tone with kind of like a darker body and like a lighter face. So some of them are pretty cool. I'm quite happy with them. Like conceptually, I think some of their designs are really neat. Because the ones on the box for these guys, I was not a big fan of. Because they're all kind of just painted like they're rotting skin. I don't know. That doesn't speak to me. You know? Like, they're goats. I want them to have fur. You know what I mean? They really leaned into the like this is rotting skin look for them. Which I mean is cool. It makes them look grosser, but I don't know. They're goat men. I want them to have fur, so. All right. I imagine our guy is that white. I put it on pretty thick in some areas, but we'll check how it's coming along in a second. What I would normally do when I'm painting just by myself, I would just let that sit, and I would come back in like an hour and check him. That's what I would normally just do if it was just me, but yeah. Yeah, just carrying more of this green into this model. So he's got a little bit more of it. And then we'll paint this bell here in copper again, but just so he's got a little bit more of the green instead of just the one thing on his hip there. Big iron on his hip. The boy looks like he's drying pretty well, but definitely I don't think he's quite there yet. This is the problem with doing like one-off models, right? Um, you tend to get stuck waiting a little bit, you know? Thankfully, this guy has not needed like any like crazy number of coats or anything like that. It could be like, okay, well, it's time for 7 coats of yellow. You know. Everybody get ready to have fun with 7 coats of yellow kind of deal, right? Like, but thankfully he hasn't been that bad. He's just been a little bit of waiting between patterns, which is fine. Just fine. We've got other models to work on while we wait, you know? But yeah, I think he's going to make a really fun uh, mage for Frostgrave. Last year when we played Frostgrave, I custom kit bashed a mage on the channel, and that was really fun. But I think, um, I don't know. I think I really like this platypus guy. I think he's really neat. So, all right. So we are now going to take a drink of our water. That's what we're going to do. And then we're going to break out some of this plasma coil glow. Now you can see this is like a crazy fluorescent paint. And it's also very, very thin. And we're going to apply it. Actually, we'll use this brush. So we're going to just start putting it over everything. Not just, we picked up a little wet white there. Not just the white areas, but all over. Because it will begin to kind of coat and cover everything and kind of like add a filter to it all. Sort of what it does. And you can see it is very, very thin. So as we apply it, it's kind of like just kind of filtering stuff just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if I am going to like it or not, but we'll see. We shall see. That, in my opinion, is definitely not enough color for that, for what I'm trying to do with that. So, all right, we'll give that like a couple minutes to dry, and then we'll try some of the fluorescent blue paint, and we'll see how that looks. But yeah, I'm probably gonna call it pretty soon. So I'm playing WoW with my husband. He's got back into playing with WoW because one of his friends is playing. Super sweet lady. And yeah, so the new expansion came out, so we're playing that. I don't want to keep him waiting for me too long. And we're almost at the end of our one guy, our platypus. Even if he's I don't know. I think I might have to do some more work on that blue on the water. I don't know if I'm happy with that, but But we'll see when I put the fluorescent paint on in a second. We'll see how I feel about it then. Because I don't know. I might like it then, but I kind of don't like where it is right now. So. Oh. Alright, so let's go ahead and put the fluorescent paint on it. The other paint's definitely not dry, but I mean, they're two kind of washy, kind of glowy paints. If they mix, they mix. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's definitely not enough kind of glowy blue for me. So we'll go ahead and we'll just hit it with some of the fluorescent paint and see how that ends up looking. Oh, man, that white really reactivated with the wash. Okay. That's like full on blending together now. Oh, fuck it. We came this far. Might as well finish. Yeah, that was not the intent at all, but it like full on blend together there. Okay, well, yeah. Not the intent at all, but not terrible. But yeah, we're at our hour mark, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I like our little platypus. I don't necessarily like his water, so I think I need to work on that and do something else to it. Maybe it'll look cooler when it dries, but I'm not super big fan of that. But yeah, something else I might try to do this guy. I might do um, a ring of white around the edge of the hood to try to pull your eye into the hood where his face is. That might be something I try to do as well, but I'm definitely not going to do that while everything is mega wet. So, because trying to paint that kind of stuff while it's wet is a fool's errand. But yeah, quite happy with the platypus himself, even if I don't like how the base looks. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get a cool base on him. Yeah, we will. But with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. I hope everybody has a good one. I hope that dude that was talking earlier enjoys painting his barbarians. And I will catch you hopefully tomorrow. I'm gonna try to play StarQuest again. So catch you guys hopefully tomorrow.